Alright, so we've got to talk about The Front, an early access survival FPS developed by Samar Studio. Imagine Rust meets Battlefield meets Ark with military tech, tanks, helicopters, base raids, and an entire war-torn planet to rebuild from the ground up. So what exactly is The Front? What makes it different from other survival sandboxes? Well, we have a lot to go over and to dive into, and this extremely cool vehicle build system, by the way. And how does the gunplay feel? What about the actual survival mechanics and the world itself? Stick around because today we're diving deep into everything The Front has to offer: the gameplay, the building systems, those vehicles, crafting, world design, optimization, and even what's planned for its future. It's all here, so grab your gear, lock in your loadout, and let's dive in. And by the way, a very special thank you to The Front for believing in what I do here and sponsoring today's video. You can jump in right now on Steam by following the link in that description below and start crafting your very own war machines, building insane fortresses, and raiding enemy outposts before anyone else. So check it out in that description down below. So yeah, we're going to start out and talk about the core experience in The Front. Now at its heart, The Front is a massive open world survival sandbox set in a dystopian future, one where civilization collapsed and the totalitarian empire rose to power. You're not a soldier from that era, you're a resistance fighter sent back in time to stop the empire before it takes control. It's a time loop premise that blends sci-fi with grounded military survival, and it's a clever way to give players both freedom and purpose. Now, the moment you step into this world, you realize this isn't a small-scale map at all or a gimmicky crafting game. This is a true open-world battlefield with a full day-night cycle, weather effects, massive biomes, and hundreds of enemy outposts scattered around deserts, snowfields, forests, and swamps. Now, every inch of the map is playable, conquerable, and filled with secrets. Now, your first few hours will feel rather intense. You're going to be scavenging for scrap, crafting your first tools as you survive, and slowly upgrading to firearms, explosives, and vehicles. But here's the hook: The Front rewards intelligence over brute force. You're not just building for show, you're building to survive. You'll construct defensive walls, deploy turrets, and create automatic traps using pressure plates, sensors, and even infrared tripwires. It's a true survival shooter experience. But you know what? None of that really matters if you don't have good gunplay, combat, and a great movement system. So, how does The Front actually feel to play? The core gameplay loop centers around survival and dominance. You'll engage human soldiers, mutants, and raiders across massive terrain, and the gunplay feels surprisingly tactical here. Weapons have weight, recoil is punchy, every bullet matters. Samar Studio clearly studied what makes modern military shooters tick, because firing an assault rifle here feels grounded with that classic resistance style grit. You're not bunny hopping and spraying blindly. This is a slower, deliberate shooter where positioning, cover, and accuracy actually matters. And yes, you can use a bow and arrow and stealth your way through some areas as well. Now, movement is balanced between realism and responsiveness. You can sprint, crouch, and go prone, but you can't zigzag endlessly without losing stamina. You feel that physical exhaustion when you're overexerted, and honestly, I love that. It gives firefights a heavy, desperate energy, like every reload counts. And yes, there's a full inventory encumbrance system here too. You can't just carry around 50 assault rifles. You'll need to manage your loadout, stash extra gear in your base, and make smart decisions before heading out. It's that kind of realism that forces players to plan instead of rushing in, which makes every battle 10 times more rewarding. And yes, you're going to be contending with a wide variety of enemy AI as they try to flank you, suppress you, and use cover. But here's the thing: when you throw other players into the mix, everything changes. Suddenly, you're not just fighting AI, you're fighting unpredictability. Maybe you're ambushed mid-loot, or maybe another squad helps you clear a base only to betray you seconds later. That emergent chaos is what makes The Front special. It's a survival game that thrives on unpredictability. But if you want to chill and relax, you do also have options. There are PvE servers as well as PvP servers. But what about the base building and defensive systems? So let's talk about The Front's biggest selling points, or one of the biggest selling points, and that is the base building system. If you've played survival games before, you know how this usually goes. Gather wood, build walls, slap on a door, and hope for the best. But the front takes things a little bit further. The building system is deep and modular. You're not just plopping down basic blocks. You can design full defensive networks with logic systems and electricity grids that feel like they belong in a real military compound. Want to rig up motion sensors to auto turrets? You can do that. Want to set pressure plates that drop spike traps or trigger explosions? Absolutely. Want to wire your generator to your floodlights, security cameras, and alarm sirens? Go for it. What's incredible here is the front treats base building as more than a construction task. It's an entire gameplay system. You can genuinely engineer your own fortress. Every choice matters, not just where you place walls, but also how you power and automate everything. And that's before we even talk about multiplayer raids. When your base gets raided, those systems come alive. Turrets track targets, mines go off, automated doors seal shut, and your alarm starts blaring. It's a lot of fun and complete chaos. It feels like Home Alone meets military simulation. You'll be defending with whatever you've got, praying your setup holds. And this system also ties beautifully into the survival loop itself. Your base isn't just a shelter, it's your lifeline. Losing it hurts badly, rebuilding it feels like a triumph, and watching your automated defenses actually work after hours of tweaking, well, that's pure satisfaction. The sheer freedom here is wild. You could build sleek modern bunkers, industrial outposts, jungle fortresses, or even floating bases on cliffs. The creative potential is massive, and Samar Studio clearly designed this for builders who love control. It's part survival, part engineering sandbox, and that's a combination that's hard not to love. And now we got to talk about vehicles and war machines, and this is where the front gets very unique. From the first time you step into a Jeep and roll out through the wasteland, you realize Samar Studio just didn't add vehicles as an afterthought at all. They built an entire combat ecosystem around them. We're talking tanks, trucks, dune buggies, armored transports, and yes, even helicopters. Over 20 different vehicle types already exist in the game, and each one is built with functional physics and modular customization. That means you can upgrade your engines, armor plating, weapon mounts, and even the paint job. Now, the vehicles don't just look cool, they feel powerful and extremely useful. You can drive a tank through a raid zone, and the sound of the engine rumbling under your headset feels like a real military experience. The weight, the recoil of your canyon, the debris flying around as you crush fences, just a ton of fun. These vehicles are a blast, especially rolling up on a big outpost and just decimating the zombies. But you know what? Vehicles aren't just a tool of war, they're also essential for survival. The map is huge, and you'll need them to travel efficiently. You can load up a flatbed truck with supplies, ferry materials from outposts back to the base, or use a helicopter to scout ahead for enemy activity. There's even a full vehicle assembly and upgrade system. You start with basic blueprints, gather components, and gradually unlock new chassis, weapons, and attachments. It's a builder's dream come true. You're not just crafting a car, you're engineering a personal war machine here. And when those raids happen, well, vehicles are game changers. Imagine launching a coordinated attack with your squad. Tanks rolling forward, choppers above, infantry flanking through the woods, smoke grenades filling the air, bullets whizzing past, and you're shouting into comms trying to coordinate the chaos. That's a front at its best. Very tactical and unpredictable. It's not just survival anymore, it's survival with ultimate firepower and armor by your side. But we also got to talk about the world design, biomes, NPCs, and player interactions here. So let's go ahead and talk about the front's world first and foremost, because this is where the game truly flexes what it can do. Now, the map is absolutely huge. It's pretty staggering. But what really stands out isn't just its size and scope. It's how live and unpredictable every biome feels. The world of the front is divided into distinct zones, each with its own weather patterns, visual identity, and survival challenges. You'll start out in a relatively calm area like the grasslands and forested valleys, where resources are abundant, the weather is mild, and enemies are scattered. But as you push outward, things get progressively harsher. Travel farther north and you'll hit the frozen waste, a snow-covered biome where visibility plummets during blizzards and cold exposure becomes a real threat. Here, abandoned military bunkers and crashed aircraft scattered the tundra. Then we have out west, where you'll encounter the Red Desert, an arid wasteland of rusted pipelines, derelict tanks, and ancient battlefields half swallowed by dunes. Sandstorms sweep through without warning, forcing you to seek shelter or risk losing visibility entirely. The Empire still patrols this area heavily, often in armored convoys that make exploration dangerous but very rewarding. Players who thrive on high risk, high reward scavenging are going to love it here. Every outpost you clear might yield advanced vehicle parts or rare crafting blueprints. And to the south lies the Swamplands, a hauntingly atmospheric region full of thick fog, rotting wooden structures, and mutated wildlife that lurks beneath the surface. This is where you'll need to move carefully. One wrong step and you'll alert predators that can absolutely tear you apart. It's also one of the few biomes where stealth and traps are more useful than brute firepower. And finally, if you venture far enough east, you'll reach the Green Frontier, a lush but deceptively dangerous jungle region where visibility is limited by dense foliage and enemies ambush from every angle. It's home to some of the game's most aggressive NPC patrols, as well as rival player camps that thrive off raiding isolated survivors. Samar Studio clearly wanted the environment itself to tell the story, a world that was once thriving, now caught in endless war. The atmosphere sells that vision. You'll hear birds chirping one minute, then suddenly see artillery shells raining down in the distance in the next. Smoke plumes on the horizon often means something is happening, maybe an NPC convoy is under attack, or another squad is raiding a base. And yes, you're going to have to contend with the NPC AI here. These Empire soldiers have some actual patrol routes, and they communicate together. If you attack one, they will radio for help, so expect reinforcements to be arriving fast, sometimes even with armored transports. Let me tell you what, you also better have a backup plan to get out of Dodge, regroup, and get back in there if you need to. Sometimes it's best to survive to fight another day. And then there are the mutants. Now, these are byproducts of the pre-collapse experiments gone wrong, fast, erratic, and unpredictable. They're scattered across the world, and some regions are absolutely infested with them. You'll hear their screeches echoing in the dark long before you see them, which can create some genuinely tense moments when exploring underground tunnels or research facilities. And you'll even run into some zombie bosses and sub-bosses. For example, this zombie freak right here wielding a chainsaw. You'll have to really dodge her attacks and be tactical when you go on the offensive. There's even poisonous zombies, and yes, you've got your tank-like zombie leaders that can pack a punch. It keeps you on your toes because you never know what is waiting for you around the corner. And on the side of the tyrannical empire, you have all sorts of enemies you'll have to contend with: skilled commandos, regular infantrymen, deadly snipers, and even jetpack-wielding soldiers that will hunt you down. Each confrontation requires a different approach, so having a wide variety of weapons on you is crucial here. We got to talk about the human element, by the way, PvP. Remember, PvP is optional. You do have PvE servers and PvP servers, so there's something for everyone. Now, the front's player versus player interactions are the beating heart of its sandbox, according to some players. This isn't a game where everyone keeps to themselves. Out here, survival means being ready for anything. Alliances, betrayals, full-scale wars, it's all here. So you might run into another player scavenging in the same area, both of you eyeing each other cautiously. Do you wave, trade, or open fire and take their loot before they can do the same to you? Those micro decisions really do define the front's emergent gameplay. No scripted questline could replicate the tension that a split-second choice when you spot movement in the tree line and realize that's not AI, that's another actual player survivor. And once you start forming squads or clans, that tension turns into full-blown warfare. Rival groups will stake territory across biomes, erecting massive fortresses that dominate entire valleys or mountain passes. You'll see player-made bases bristling with turrets, minefields that surround the perimeter, and even convoy routes guarded by tanks. When these groups clash, it is quite spectacular. You got helicopters dogfighting over forests when tanks are trading shells down below. The best part is how unpredictable all it feels. One day you're exploring an abandoned city, scavenging for electronics, and the next, your base is under siege by players you just traded with the other night. That's the front in a nutshell, living, evolving world that reacts to you. and to everyone else trying to survive in it. And it's that constant push and pull between man and nature, between survivor and empire, between trust and betrayal, that unpredictability being the key word here that makes the front so replayable. So what about followers, progression, and resource management? Well, let's talk about it. As you grow more powerful, the front introduces one of its coolest and more overlooked systems, the follower and automation mechanics. So yeah, you can actually recruit NPCs to help you defend your base, harvest resources, and even man certain workstations. You do this using a special device called a jammer, a piece of pre-collapse technology that lets you reprogram soldiers and workers to join your cause. It's a brilliant system because it bridges the gap between single player and multiplayer. Even if you're playing solo, your base feels alive. Now, these followers can be equipped, leveled up, and assigned to stations. So for example, you could have one managing your smelter, another handling your crafted benches, and maybe one guarding the perimeter. It's basically building your own self-sustaining mini army, one that keeps your production going even when you're off exploring. On top of that, resource management is more than just grab and craft. You need to think strategically here. The front features an actual logistical layer where fuel, ammo, and materials are consumed over time. Run your generators too long without proper maintenance, and they'll eventually break down. Build too many automated systems without balancing your power grid, and the lights will flicker out mid-raid. These small details add incredible sense of realism. It's not just about building, it's about maintaining your infrastructure, balancing your economy, and constantly adapting. You're not just a survivor, you're an engineer and commander all in one. And this is also where crafting depth shines. You'll be building everything from armor, firearms, to advanced machinery, drones, vehicles, and automated systems. The sheer number of crafting tiers is staggering here. Early game scavenging turns into full-scale industrial production by the late game. You'll go from hunting with a bow to rolling out in a tank with an entire army of NPCs at your back. Also, we gotta talk about the tech and the graphics engine here, and I gotta say that Samar Studios did an amazing job with presenting their world and fully realizing it here. There are some moments that are absolutely beautiful where the sun is setting and you can see it peeking through the forest, the god rays. It looks beautiful. And also, I gotta say, huge compliments to the actual weather system here. I think they absolutely nailed it with the eerie feeling of going through a storm and also feeling like you're under threat by the weather itself. You have to consider what you are wearing when a bad storm approaches. You don't want to get too cold. That can really actually affect you negatively. And also, if you head into the desert, you don't want to get too overheated. So you have to wear the appropriate gear according to what's going on the screen. So the graphics aren't just there. They actually affect gameplay, which I absolutely love. And what's also really cool, I want to mention this, is there's also support for dedicated servers, private lobbies, and yes, persistent worlds, meaning your base and progress don't just vanish every time you log off. That's a huge plus for a community-driven game like this one, and it lays the foundation for massive player economies and alliances down the road. And yeah, we're going to talk about future updates and the roadmap. So since the front is currently in early access, Samar Studios has a lot of plans for the road ahead, and it's looking pretty ambitious here. According to their development updates, upcoming milestones include expanding biomes, more vehicle classes like fighter aircraft and naval vehicles, a full weather hazard system that affects survival conditions, and community-driven events where entire servers can band together to take down massive world bosses. There are also hints of story expansions that dig deeper into the lore, revealing more about the time travel experiment, the rise of the Empire, and the mysterious anomalies scattered throughout the world. Samar Studio has already rolled out multiple patches improving base building tools, AI pathfinding, and crafting quality of life updates. They're clearly listening to community feedback here, and that's a huge green flag for long-term support. And it's also worth mentioning here that the developers are doing everything to commit to fair monetization. There are no pay-to-win elements, no premium ammo, no shortcuts. It's a skill-based game, grind-based, earn-it-yourself system, and that's refreshing in today's landscape. So yeah, if you're a fan of games like Rust, Ark, DayZ, or Battlefield's Portal mode, this is absolutely something you're going to want to keep your eye on. So be sure to join me in the front by following that link in the description below. And once again, a very massive thanks to the front for sponsoring today's video and giving me the chance to dive deep into their world. If you want to check it out for yourself, again, hit that link in the pinned comment or description below and start your survival journey today. See you in the game.